Welcome, everyone. We're delighted to have you here at the Virtual York Theatre Company. My name is Jim Morgan, and I'm the Virtual Producing Artistic Director. Tonight, we are celebrating new musical theater under the direction of our literary manager, Seth Christenfeld. In these very strange times, it's wonderful to revisit one of the hallmarks of our mission, new musical theater. Welcome and enjoy.
And so anyway, long story short, that's why I'm no longer allowed to go into the doors of Manhattan Theater Club. Oh, sorry. Good evening, folks. My name is Seth Christenfeld, and I'm the York's literary manager. Literary manager is an East Indian word used by the British military to mean that weird guy in the office who yells at pieces of paper even though he hasn't been drinking. That's a joke for those of you who've come to Mufti's over the years. I'm coming to you live from my parents' house in the lawless wilds of Westchester County. Like so many of you, we've been out of our offices for nearly 7 months. That's made it difficult for us at the York to do, as our motto says, and bring musicals to life. But we've been doing our best, and I hope that you've been joining us for some of our coronavirus content. We've been doing reunion panels for past productions, trivia nights, and special member events, plus we've shown our past summer and winter student showcases. We, and by we I mean the unstoppable Jimmy Ludwig, even put together a brand new summer student showcase entirely by video. You can check all of that out on the York's YouTube page if you haven't seen it already, or even if you have. We just want those sweet, sweet views. Smash that like button and blast that subscribe button. Not literally, please don't damage your devices and then blame us. We'd love it if you could make a donation too, if you can. You can text NEWMT to 44321 or go to the link in the chat. Is the link in the chat? I hope the link's in the chat. Quick shout out, there's the link in the chat. Quick shout out to Alana Graber, who, in addition to being the York's newly minted Director of Development, is working behind the scenes tonight to keep everything working smoothly. She's the one clicking the buttons to make these banners appear. But on to tonight. The York is the only theater company in New York, and one of very few in the world, with the double mission of both developing and producing new musicals of the future and reinvigorating musicals of the past. It's the musicals of the future that tonight is all about. In an average season, we present 25 to 30 developmental readings of shows in progress. We had several on the calendar when the shutdown hit, so nobody got to see those, and that's terrible. Tonight, though, you're going to get to meet the writers of 3 of those shows and hear some music from each of them. First up, I'd like to bring on Madeline Myers. Madeline is one of the York's 2019 NEO writers. NEO, which stands for New Emerging Outstanding, is a program in which the York selects 4 or 5 writers or teams, showcases their work in a launch concert, and over the course of the next year or so, each writer or team gets a fully funded reading of a work in progress. It was that reading that was unfortunately canceled because of the pandemic, so please welcome to the virtual stage, Madeline Myers.
Hi, Seth.
Hi, Madeline. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I am awake. Where are you joining us from tonight?
I am here in my apartment in New York City. I'm very happy to be in the city. Where you said you're in Westchester?
I'm in Westchester.
How has that been for you?
It's fine. I mean, if I'm going to be sitting in in a room all day, which I would have to do at my apartment anyway, I might as well be up here where the screens are larger and the food is better.
Hey, we'll take it. I'll take it.
So how have you been killing time for the last 7 months while everything's been shut down? I know you mentioned a show you're working on besides this and some community service you've been doing. So why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. So over the summer, I was commissioned to write a new musical for UNC Greensboro and their BFA program, which is headed by Aaron Spear, the director, and Dominic Amendum, who is the music director and a good friend of mine and mentor of mine. And Dom and Aaron have been really innovative in terms of thinking about how they're providing instruction and training and experience to their students right now while they're not able to safely gather in person to make theater. And so one of the things that they're doing is that they're commissioning writers to write musicals that they are going to film for their 2021 virtual season. So I am so thrilled and honored to be one of those writers. And the show that I am writing for them is called Flatbush Avenue. And it takes place in the summer of 1955. And it centers on these 3 young women who, like everybody else in their neighborhood, are obsessed with their hometown baseball team, the then Brooklyn Dodgers. In 1955 is actually the year that the Dodgers won the World Series. So in the show, these three young women play a game of street baseball, of stickball, and it's kind of in the course of that game that they kind of witness or experience something very tragic. And so the show is actually about raising your voice and speaking up in the face of injustice and the power of female friendship. So that has kind of been one big thing that I'm working on. And one of the other big things I've been working on, which is not actually a show, it's not a musical, but it's something I'm really passionate about, something I really care about. So several years ago, I started volunteering at Central Synagogue with their homeless breakfast program. And this year, just kind of as the election approached, I started thinking about how can we give these folks more than just a meal? How can we give them a voice and a real stake in determining the outcome of this election? So this fall, we have been registering homeless voters and also getting them counted for the 2020 census, because we know that when everybody gets counted, we can get more resources and more representation for this community. So it's not a musical, but it's something else that's really important to me, and I feel really excited about.
That's terrific. Going back to the musical for a moment, is it a 3-actor show, or is it a little larger than that?
So it has a cast of 6, and it's a pretty evenly distributed show. Everyone is a principal, and everyone is also kind of an ensemble member.
Are you writing the book for it also?
I am. It is sung through like Double Helix, so all the story kind of takes place through the singing.
Excellent. There's something about baseball that really lends itself to musical theater, and I don't know what that is. But
it's a rich tradition of baseball musicals. There
is, and then just even I've written a good baseball song somehow.
What is your baseball song, Seth?
I'll play that for you some other time. It's about the '86 World Series.
And the Red Sox, right?
It's about the Bill Buckner game.
So, I don't know that game. I'm gonna have to my research.
1986 Mets versus Red Sox World Series.
Red Sox, okay, yeah.
Bill Finn didn't like it because I talked about the Red Sox losing.
Oh, wow.
Bill's a big Red Sox fan. But anyway, let's talk a bit about Double Helix, the show you're here to talk about and play for us tonight. It's a fascinating idea. It's the story of Rosalind Franklin, who was... Oh, shut up. Sorry about that. It's a story of Rosalind Franklin, the scientist whose pivotal contribution to the discovery of DNA was kind of written out of the history books. And so I've heard a couple of songs from the show, and they're all, including the one we're gonna hear tonight, and they're all really terrific. And I'd love to hear how you came to the project.
Absolutely. So several years ago, I had a friend say, do you know anything about the discovery of DNA? And I knew nothing about the discovery of DNA. So he kind of told me it was this explosive, epic, cutthroat race to secure the secret of life, to secure the structure of DNA. And so I was instantly kind of captivated and enthralled by it. And so I started to kind of read a little bit more about it. And as soon as I did, I saw that there was this woman named Rosalind Franklin who had been at the center of discovery. And so Rosalind Franklin was this young Anglo-Jewish woman. She was a brilliant and skilled X-ray diffractioner, X-ray photographer. And she took this photograph called Photograph 51 that revealed the structure of DNA to be a double helix. And this photograph was shared without her permission or her knowledge by one of her lab mates, this man named Morris Wilkins. And Morris took this photograph and he shared it with another team also working on the DNA problem at Cambridge, 2 men named James Watson and Francis Crick. And the 3 men, Morris Wilkins, Watson, and Crick, would go on to win the Nobel Prize for securing the discovery of DNA in 1962, 4 years after Rosalind passed away at age 38. And so Double Helix is Rosalind Franklin's story, which has been left out of our dominant cultural narrative about the most important scientific discovery in modern history.
Terrific. What has its development path been like so far? I know that when we presented 2 songs from it in NEO a year and a half ago, it was in the very early stages. I don't think you had even completed the first act yet.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So, and actually one reason why it's so exciting for me to be here is because the very first songs that were ever publicly performed from the show were actually at the Neo concert that we did at the York last spring, which feels like a lifetime ago, but it's kind of thrilling to be able to continue working on it with the York. And I just appreciate all the support that you all have given this show. So after that concert, I kept performing songs from it at the Drama Skill Foundation. We did a concert at Lincoln Center last spring. And then last fall, we actually did a reading of the first act at the Drama Skill Foundation. So this summer was supposed to be what would have been Rosalind Franklin's 100th birthday. We had a lot of really kind of exciting things planned with some other cultural institutions to celebrate and mark this incredible occasion. And of course, all of those were canceled, but the development is still very much in progress. I feel super determined, like a lot of other writers right now, to kind of keep the work going. So we're doing a Zoom reading of the full show in about a month. And then the development continues. I'm just determined to not waste this time and to actually make the most of this time.
Terrific. And would you say that there have been any specific challenges that you found from writing a piece based on real life? I know this isn't the first piece you've written based on actual events. And as it happens, all three shows we're talking about tonight are in some fashion based on fact, from historical fiction to hewing fairly close to verbatim interview-based theater. So I'm curious if you found any specific challenges to writing something that is specifically fact-based.
Absolutely. So kind of from the earliest days of working on the show, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a historian, I'm not a biographer. I'm a musical dramatist. And so I really had my work cut out for me trying to dramatize this show, which is ostensibly about science. One of the things that became really clear to me when I started writing it was that science is really the vehicle for the show. And I think I'm not alone when I say, science feels kind of often very inaccessible. It feels very cerebral and intellectual. And so it's kind of been in the course of writing this show that I've realized actually how kind of deeply human and fundamental and basic science is, and how incredibly personal and emotional it is. And I think you need look no further than the pandemic we're living through and experiencing to understand just how impactful science is in our lives. And so that has kind of been really one of the biggest challenges. And I, do all this research, and I'm very meticulous in it, and I take pages and pages of notes. And at the end of the day, I found that you just kind of have to put the research aside and put all these scientific notes aside and just let the characters sing and kind of express their emotional truths the best I can.
And that's what musical theater is all about. So speaking of which, we're going to play a song right now from Double Helix. It's called The Solution, and it's performed by the terrific Samantha Missel, who also performed one of the songs from this show at the Neo concert. So
yes, Samantha is Rosalind Franklin. She's playing Rosalind Franklin.
And then I also heard her sing a song from it at 54 Below also, which was terrific. So I'm going to play that. Would you like to introduce it to us, tell us where it comes in the context of the story?
Absolutely. So this song happens at the beginning of Act 2. And where we find Rosalind is she's just incredibly distraught. She has been kind of experiencing this misogyny and anti-Semitism at work in her lab every day. Her relationship is kind of completely deteriorated and crumbled. And so she's in this moment where she has to figure out what she wants to do. And so she is a scientist, and that is her worldview. And that's kind of how she makes her decisions. And that is what this song is. So this is Samantha Missel singing The Solution from Double Helix.
A solution, the solution. Keep your focus, now focus the lens. Another X-ray photograph. Just one more X-ray photograph. One more slab, one more back to my X-ray photographs. One moment spent in Paris has me questioning my time. Don't waste another moment thinking Jacques is worth your time. I'm not interested in speculating when I'm late in finding the solution. What is it about coming back from a place you love that makes London seem so awful? That makes this land feel so intolerable? That makes these people so unbearable? I can't go back to Paris, but I'm miserable here, so what's the solution? Another photograph. One more. Morris doesn't run. Morris doesn't hurry. Morris holds me back. Morris doesn't worry about time. A solution's only that, a solution. If all it solves is the structure at hand, what if this single photograph could lead to no more photographs, no more thinking of Jacques, taking up time, asking too much, no more Morris or Stokes, slowing me down, holding me back, and once I solve the structure, I won't stay here anymore. A solution is emerging, and the structure's solving for what's true. Science tells the truth. Science always tells the truth. And the truth is the solution.
That is fantastic.
Wow.
Yes, the great and the good Samantha Massell, who audience members might know from the most recent revival of Fiddler on the Roof. Not the most recent one, because the most recent one was the one in Yiddish, but the most recent one in English. She was terrific in that. She's terrific in a lot of things. And that was fantastic. Who did your video editing?
Alex Wise actually did it. Alex is playing James Watson in the show. But he's also really skilled with video editing, because you may know his series Indoor Boys, which is really fantastic. And so, being the most generous, kind person that he is, he edited it for us, and we're really thrilled with how it came out.
Terrific.
Thank you.
So, where can people find you on the internet if they'd like to get to know more of your work?
You can look me up, MadelineMyers.com. That is the best place to find about all my work.
Fantastic, because as I said yesterday, you're a smart person and you're not on Facebook like the rest of us.
True.
All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Carry on with the good work, and I will look for the invitation to the Zoom reading in my mailbox.
Awesome. I'll send it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
So if you're just joining us, what have you been doing for the last 20 minutes? I will accept no excuses short of saving puppies from fires. If you're late for other reasons, the only way to regain my favor is to make a generous donation to the York Theatre Company to keep exciting programming like this alive. Is this programming exciting? Text NEWMT to 44321 or click the link in the chat. And as the cast of Avenue Q sang in a song that was not yet in the show when the York presented its very first reading in the May of 2000, give us your money. Yes, the York's developmental reading series has been home to shows that have gone on to Broadway like Avenue Q and In Transit, to our main stage and off-Broadway like Desperate Measures and Cagney, and to productions all around the country and the world. Maybe one of tonight's shows will do that, and you'll be able to say you were there when, like I can say about Avenue Q. when I was in the audience for its first reading when I was in high school. Maybe they all will do that. I certainly hope so. Again, text NEWMT to 44321 or click the link in the chat. And don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, etc. So, for our next selection, I'd like to bring up two more of our 2019 Neo writers, composer Amanda DeArchangelis and lyricist Sami Horneff, along with Gray Horan, the librettist they're collaborating with on the musical Coming Attraction. That show was also scheduled for its Neo reading when the shutdown happened, so please welcome Amanda, Sami, and Gray.
Hello.
Hello, folks.
I'm muted. Hi, not anymore.
Hey. So where are you all joining us from?
So I'm in Long Island, a hop, skip, and a jump from Manhattan, and 40 minutes out, just hanging at my parents' house because they've got a baby grand piano, and I can't fit a baby grand in an apartment, so.
That's awesome.
I'm here in New York City in my apartment in Gramercy.
Excellent.
I'm in Rhode Island, getting to know it very well.
Terrific. So, how have you all been killing time? Amanda and Sami, I know you guys have a show that's actually having its premiere in about in a little under 2 months, and that's really exciting. I don't know that show very well at all, but please tell us a bit about the Radium Girls, which you've been writing with Lisa Moncillo.
Yes, absolutely. So we're super lucky to be having the world premiere of our musical, The Radium Girls, a jaw-dropping new musical, at Western Connecticut State University's New Works, New Voices Festival, under the direction of Tim Howard and the music direction of Justin Cowan. And we're just so thrilled to have this team on board. It's going to be a pretty crazy reading and a production. What kind of started out as a workshop is becoming this like full-blown
full production,
live stream production. Yeah, Amanda, want to talk about some of the work that you've been doing?
Yeah,
it's wild.
It's been absolutely cuckoo bananas. So, we realized, if we're gonna go a little far and have it be more than a reading and more than a Zoom musical, there needs to be a kind of a fully fleshed, score here. So, I've been busy making really, really elaborate tracks and fully orchestrated music for the show. So that's really exciting. The kids all got green screens from the school, so they're filming all of their scenes in front of green screens, and they're gonna plop stuff behind them. It's cuckoo to me. I can't even fully imagine that. They've storyboarded the whole thing. So, and then all of the kids have been recording their vocals with just their phones. So it's also been a interesting experience editing all of those, but also very successful, might I add.
Right.
And they've never sung in the same room. They've never sung these songs together, just like individually into phones. And Amanda is mixing them all along with Justin.
Yeah. And then they hear it back, and they were amazed. And like a few of the kids were like, this is amazing. It sounds like a cast album, and because obviously they haven't been able to experience it with each other. So it's something that's really special that we'll have forever. We'll have a really beautiful little record of this. So
yeah. And just a little bit, this is also kind of a really cool historical show, The Radium Girls, although we're taking sort of like a dark horror comedy spin on it. It's about the radium watch dial factories in the 1920s and the women there who got incredibly sick from a technique called lip pointing, which was where they took the brushes, dipped them in the radium paint, painted little watch numbers, and then licked the tip of the brush in order to make the tip pointy to do it again. So it became really one of the biggest cases for workers' rights in American history, and a lot of people didn't know about it until a book came out by Kate Moore called The Radium Girls. So highly recommend that if you're interested in a really fascinating read.
I will have to check that out. I'm excited to watch the show, especially because I know cuckoo is something that you guys do well, having seen Single Writer and having first gotten to know Amanda's work when one of her other collaborators sent us a show with an unprintable title that, although it was too short for us to do anything with, was screamingly funny. And
she is funny.
Of course. And Gray, how have you been killing time up in New England?
Well, just fine. I just finished a play, not a musical, and that has had a series of readings here at the Wilbury Theater in Rhode Island. it was poised to have what we called a micro performance of several scenes at RISD Museum. It's a play about art. It's a play where the main character is actually a painting. And we pivoted to live stream really early in the whole Zoom process. So it was a very steep learning curve, but we were just, it took our mind off of, current events, and we were able to pull it off. So look forward to doing that, resuming with that and taking it to different places in the future.
Terrific. And what's that play called, so we can keep an eye out for?
It's called 12 Installations.
12 Installations. Great. So before we start talking about coming attraction, I'd love to hear a song from it, which you're going to perform for us live. And if I remember correctly, this is the title song, which is also the opening number of the show.
Indeed, it
Great.
is.
So it shouldn't require too much context.
No,
And
it's perfectly fluffy and nice.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Let me just get this up.
Greg, do you want to set the stage of the scene while Amanda prepares?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the book takes place.
We're going to talk about it a little more after she does the songs. Then
okay.
We'll talk about the show.
You ready, Amanda?
I am.
Okay, good.
Okay. Your gal just needs a quarter, and I can sure transport her to the Wild West or Baghdad or to France. You're aching for a thriller, the sweetheart cop's a killer, or you're dying to get lost in some romance. Well, buddy, step right up, enjoy a night of leisure for 2 dimes and a nickel. Here's your passport to pleasure. There's always a coming attraction. In fact, we've got 3 shows a day. I see that you need a distraction. A quarter and your world's away. Well, get a load of Mary, so far from quite contrary that Pickford is the perfect ingenue. Ramon's a Latin stallion, fed her with his battalion, and Gilbert makes you swoon with every move. The lover and the vamp, the western and the cowboy. Well, get your wallets out, and they're yours here and now, boy. There's always a coming attraction, where stars shine as bright as the day. Step in and it's lights, camera, action. A quarter and your world's away. Get in line, get in line, get in line. Get your popcorn fresh and hot. Soda pop and hit the spot. Take a taste of candy, well it sure is dandy with a spot of gin. Ladies sport the latest style. Sit in the lounge, come stay a while. There's a picture palace, there's no hint of malice, so just step right in. Step right in, step right in, step right in. There's always a coming attraction, a true cinematic buffet. It's sure to provide satisfaction. A quarter and your world's a quarter and your world's a quarter and your world's away.
That is
That was me
fantastic.
singing like 30
So,
parts, you know? You have to imagine like 35 people, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a movie
Excellent.
chorus
I will imagine 35
Yes, exactly.
of 35
in a
Amandas.
1920s movie theater.
It just
Excellent.
puts you right to 1925.
Fabulous. Great. Now you can tell us about the show, and I know, and I'm curious. Please, you can give us a quick synopsis. Tell us how you came to the show. Great. I know you have a particular connection.
So the show is about Greta Garbo and a lot of the characters who were in Hollywood in the silent film era. Greta Garbo is my great aunt, so I knew her really well. She actually lived right down the street from the York Theater, so we went to the York Theater often, and it's near and dear to my heart. And she made she made films. She arrived in Hollywood in 1925. She didn't speak English, and she had this unbelievable transition to stardom. Her career was really solidified by the photograph she made with Ruth Harriet Louise, who was similarly very young. They were both, Garbo was 19, she was 22. And it's a work where I sort of imagine what was it like for these two women to collaborate and make these iconic images that really shaped our view of modern women, and really were very impactful around the world. And interestingly, it was one of the very few things that Garbo kept from her Hollywood days. And so while I don't really know that much about the relationship, and it's very imagined and speculative, obviously this was a really important collaboration for her, both in terms of what it produced and that these were two very young women working in the studio system, confronting things that young women like Amanda and Sami, starting within their early days of their very promising careers, could really relate to. So it was like a match made in heaven when we found each other.
Terrific. How did Amanda and Sami? How did you guys come onto the project?
It was like a blind date.
Truly, it was.
It really was.
Our very dear friend and the producer of our show, Single Rider, Kelly Glenn, if you're out there, we love you, Kelly. She actually connected us because she had met Gray through a family friend, and she had just worked on Single Rider with us. And she said, I have this piece, and I think you guys are really the right people for it. Take a read of the script of the libretto as it stands without music, and let us know. Let me know what you think. I'll connect you. So we read the piece. We were just so inspired by it, and so we invited Gray over to my studio apartment in Manhattan, and basically just decided we were going to put on a little bit of a show to try to prove to her why we were the right people for this project.
We wrote a song on the spot, based off of some of the material given, and I think we won Gray over, seeing as it's about 2 years later, and we're 2 years or 3 years? It's 2 years, right?
3 years, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, clearly me and Samantha can't get enough of the 1920s, so it was just perfect for us.
Well, we both had, you guys were a quick study in terms of appreciating and understanding and delving deep into, what I could really geek out to, which is the silent movie era. You all really embraced it, and that's what I wanted. I really wanted to connect that era to the here and now, because there are so many parallels.
Yeah, it's a terrific idea for a show, and I look really forward to finally getting to see and hear the whole thing one of these days, I hope.
It's gonna happen.
Yep. And so would you play the other song you're going to play for us, which
Sure.
I believe is is sort of the closing number of the show?
It is. I know. I gave you the bop of the opening, razzle dazzle of the movies, and now we're gonna have an intimate moment with Garbo when she kind of reflects on her time with photographer Ruth Harriet, and this is later on in her life, and just kind of how impactful it was on her, but also everyone else. So this is called Never Fade. How could we have known 19 and 22, two girls who sought to set the world on fire?
How could we have known that we could see it through? Together all the lives we would inspire. No, you may not be here to witness what you made, but I promise that your light will never fade. I promise that your light will never fade. It's growing hazy the day I met you, but here we have a moment trapped in time, and I barely know myself, the woman that I see, but oh how I remember you and me. I watch the years pass, the years without you, count the miles that I have walked alone, but I unfold the yellowed page, I feel your warmth again, as beautiful and young as you were then. I look back at our photograph and suddenly I'm there, the place that we'd escape, the perfect world that we would share, before the heat, before the glare, before your glow was dimmed forever. I often wonder if you can see me, if you can see the world you left behind. And this girl we brought to life, she will live beyond us both, and you will never fade, and you will never fade, you will never fade from my mind, from my mind. I look back at the photograph, the star that came to be. Your scarbo got the credit, but you saw the truth in me. And they may not know, and they may not see, but I owe you more than you can understand. And on that morning, the day I join you, across the gray horizon towards the sun, all that's left of me, those pictures frozen still, and their legacy has only just begun, and their legacy has only just begun.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing sharing both of those songs with
Thank
us.
you for having us. Yeah.
So, absolutely,
Good girl.
I'm always happy to listen to your work. Where can people find you all online if they want to hear and learn, and if they want to get to know more?
My website is my very, very, very long name, amandadarkangeles.com. And my Instagram is @AmandaDees. That's where you can find the most up-to-date things on what I'm doing when it comes to pop songs or what have you. Samantha does not have an Instagram, which I respect. But but she does have a beautiful website.
I do have a website. It's www.samihorneff.com. And there you can find all sorts of news and media, catch up with the stuff that we're doing, and all that.
Excellent. Great. Can people find you?
They can find me.
Anywhere,
You can Google Wilbury Theater, Gray Horan, and you'll come across the work that I've done that's showcased and featured on that site.
Terrific. Sorry, I don't have a banner for you. All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you to New
Absolutely.
York. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful.
Once again, I would like to take a moment to encourage you to donate to the York. And by encourage, I mean pressure. Text NEWMT to 44321 and or click the link in the chat. Give us your money. Include us in your will. Send us suitcases full of small, unmarked bills. We are not picky. Well, I'm not picky. Our general manager might feel kind of weird about the suitcases. Once more, text NEWMT to 44321 or click the link in the chat. Also, don't forget to /follow /subscribe to us everywhere you can. On YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Friendster. Friendster is not still a thing, is it? Okay. So, to close our evening of new musical theater, I'd like to introduce you to Alison Weller and Peter Hodgson, the authors of Boundless. We were in conversations with them about doing a New to New York presentation of Boundless when everything went to hell. New to New York is one of the York's lesser seen series. We do them, but not terribly often. They're staged workshop presentations of new musicals on the same 2-week schedule and contract as the musicals and Mufti presentation. So please welcome to the virtual stage, Alison Weller and Peter Hodgson.
Thank you so much. Hey.
Thanks, Seth.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Where are you joining us from?
Alison.
I am on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, going back and forth between New York and the Cape, but imagining that I may need to sort of hunker down here again for a bit of a spell, hoping I don't have to.
And I am in Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Great. Hey, how have you been killing time during the pandemic? Anything interesting going on?
Well, I've been teaching and trying to get my wee daughter, when she's not that wee, but my 12 and a half year old through it. And, also trying to do my part to, get ballot applications to people in Pennsylvania and stuff like that when possible, because that's, big.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been practicing a lot. I pulled out the saxophone. I used to play it in high school. Now I have it out, and it's really annoying for my neighbors, but,
Excellent.
it's all in the name of art, so I guess they have to deal with it.
Yeah, well, art will make us do strange and terrible things to our neighbors.
Yes, exactly.
That's true.
Yes. So speaking of art, why don't we begin by showing this video of you performing in Wind, Weather, and Tide, which is the opening number of Boundless, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Do I remember correctly?
You remember correctly.
Excellent. I tend to.
I reached for a napkin and he wrote down the terms. Then we sealed it with shots and a bud at the Squire. The vessel was mine, a scribble, a pact, fueled by the liquor but born from my desire to have the ocean my office, to commute while the sun catches fire, while you're stuck on the bridge with your donuts, spilling crumbs on your 9-to-5 business attire. The call comes in from out in the deep. The ocean decides if I go or I sleep. Call me blue collar, hey, I've got my pride, but I only answer to wind, weather, and tide. Call me a cowboy, the sea's my frontier, but hey, I'm just trying to get by over here. Some say it's genetic, some call it a curse. I call it my life, and I could do so much worse. So don't bother leaving a message. I'll try to get back to you some rainy day, when I'm not mending nets or passed out on the couch, or if some other damn thing doesn't get in the way. The call comes in from out in the deep. The ocean decides if I go or I sleep. Call me blue collar, hey, I've got my pride, but I only answer to wind, weather, and tide. If the weather's a mess, I'll probably go. If there's a good chance there'll be something to tow. If it's all dark and there's a good blow, you can bet your ass I still wanna go. The call comes in from out in the deep. The ocean decides if I go or I sleep. Call me a blue collar, hey, I've got my pride, but I only answer to wind. You can tell me I'm stubborn for taunting the skies. I only answer to wind. Oh, I got a degree in staying alive. I only answer to wind, weather. You can be my best friend, my priest or my bride, but I only answer to wind, weather, and tide.
Terrific. So tell us about a bit about Boundless, or tell them a bit about Boundless. I know about Boundless. Please tell the audience a bit about Boundless and how the project got started. And it's an interesting form. And then I'm curious how Peter got involved with it to come on as
Sure. So I have been an associate artist for the Civilians, the New York Theater Company, the Civilians, since 2001 or 2002. They do investigative theater, and that was a very big part of my life. And Cape Cod has always been a very big part of my life as well, particularly a place called Cape Rep Theater in Brewster. And after doing shows like Gone Missing and This Beautiful City and some other things in this vein, it kept occurring to me that though I had spent a bunch of time on Cape Cod, I had never really had a proper conversation with any fishermen, and I was eating a bunch of fish and I enjoyed it. And it's sort of this thing that's happening around you when you're on the Cape, but a lot of people don't necessarily interact with the fishermen, partly because they're often fishing. And I know that due to environment things that are going on in the environment and politics and various economic things that are going on, that the fishermen have a lot of things that they're juggling all the time. And so I basically pitched the idea to the artistic director of the theater here, and she commissioned it in 2016. And then I was sort of in the process. We had had a team of people interviewing people in the community. We became affiliated with a person named Owen Nichols, who's a marine biologist at the Center for Coastal Studies here, who was really, really integral in connecting us to fishermen and people involved on all sides of the issue. And then in the middle of a very busy summer, before the show was supposed to happen in the fall of 2017, I was doing a musical with Peter. And I was like, I have written the lyrics to some of these songs, but I need someone to write the music. And Peter and I had just met on this musical, and I appreciated the way he handled himself in the room, and I appreciated that he hated some of the lyrics that I hated. So, I don't know, you know what I mean? And it was sort of like, Peter, might you be interested in doing this? And we were just really lucky that we hit it off. And,
yeah.
Peter,
I mean, sorry, let's get this one out. I came in just sort of randomly, I guess you would call it. And I had never interacted with this sort of theater, documentary theater, where everything is, based on interviews and stuff like that. So it posed a unique challenge to how do you write some songs that have traditional lyrics like Wind, Weather, and Tide, and then some songs that their lyrics are just based off of an interview, and so they really are structureless in a way, and it's how do you make structure in that. So it's been a really rewarding collaboration, and I love the style. I think it's so interesting, and I think it can be really powerful.
Yeah, it's really terrific stuff. Have you found any particular challenges in creating sort of a dramatic structure out of these disparate interviews, threading things together, looking for common threads?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a thing about trying to find a sort of arc and a flow to something when you're not necessarily fully doing a narrative. I tried to give some of that linear feel through focusing on a particular family that has been fishing for generations here, and sort of the story of these two different generations that we interviewed. That helps, but similar to to Madeline's project, the other thing is also when you're trying to teach people and provide so much information, you also want to make sure there's a heart to the play as well, and that there's a real emotional grounding as well. I think that's actually where the music is so important, not only to give it that kind of intimacy, but also just kind of to pull people out of because there are some sections that are about regulations and
monologues.
I mean, we
monologues about regulation.
Yeah.
Northeast marine fisheries.
Exactly, but in terms of
riveting.
conflict, there was a variety of stuff that we could pull from.
Yeah, and I think it was an interesting part of the form is that so often we're based on plot via actions and via linear actions, and when you're devoid of one thing causing the next thing, finding a new way of lacing a story together is really hard and really interesting. But I think the first time I read the show, Alison had done an amazing job of connecting, not just putting this family as an anchor point for the audience, but connecting each emotion to the next thing. So there's an emotional arc that it takes you through that is, if you lay it all out, it's really solid and looks just like a plot that would have action in it, but it's tying all the emotion together. And I think that really both highlights the perseverance and hope of the community that was that's being interviewed, and really just makes the show effective.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful piece, and I look very forward to watching it as it continues to evolve, hopefully under our aegis.
Thank you, Seth.
Yes, thank you.
So nice of you.
Should anything ever go back to normal?
God.
And so, would you introduce to us the second song of tonight? Your second song from Boundless we'll be seeing, and the final song of the evening.
Alison?
Sure. Well, sure. Yeah. Well, we knew that we needed a song that would sort of incorporate the feeling of trying to explain all the very complicated strands of things that people in this community are grappling with all of the time. And it felt like it should be a song that came from Owen, our sort of mentor through all of this, from his perspective. So, and also involve the sort of element of climate change sort of over here, the elephant in the room around all of this stuff. So, so I wrote a sort of draft, and then I was crazed, fixing the script, and I was like, Peter, here's a draft, please. And he was like, give me 3 words, that this song should feel like. And then he went away and did this magical thing.
And do you remember what the 3 words were?
Oh my gosh.
Nope.
I don't.
I don't.
I think slowly, unstructured, something about being.
It ended up. The lyric ended up being a lot of pieces of what Alison had given me, but also a lot of just phrases from the raw text of the interview and his answer to it. And so the song just pulls from this huge. There's a big document somewhere of a single spaced 1 full page, and there's highlights in it, and we just kind of went through and figured out what was the most poignant.
Excellent. So here is the title song from Boundless.
We have this idea, abundance, you know, based on what used to be there and what's out there now. And that's based on how long you've lived here and how long you've fished here and the cycles you've seen and how you perceive the world around you, or at least the fishing. Yeah, abundance. There could be less fish, yeah, that could be it. Overfished for sure, but that's a touchy subject. Some say that the scientists screwed up the way they measured the fish, and so it seems like the cod are gone. That's wishful thinking if you ask me. These fish have a tendency to up and leave with no warning, off to a boundless number of places. Oh, how rude. So their numbers plummet, catches plummet, profits plummet, families. But here's the thing, when they breed, it's a beautiful and ancient choreographed dance. And if you interrupt it, they scatter and fail to bring another generation into the world. The slightest shift in circumstance makes it feel like the whole world is left to chance. Did they die? Or were they chased away by sharks or seals? Or pushed out by the warming water? That last one, I think that last one hurts the most. Because the thought that creeps into someone's head is, was this our fault? Was this our fault? So the questions keep flooding in. How much can we spare? How much can we protect? Can we nurse it back to health just to use it up again? Can we keep a family together? Can we provide? Can we just live without the uncertainty? The constant worry that maybe today, maybe tomorrow, the fish will be gone. Those questions, that fear, boundless.
That is beautiful. Well, you set that verbatim text so terrifically well. And it's a
thank you.
Setting verbatim text is an art, and we're setting formless text, I guess, is an art, and not everybody can do it, but you do a really good job of it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you online if they want to hear more?
Peter.
Okay. Well, banner says peterhodgsonmusic.com. That's where you can find me. Just finished updating it today. And I am not on Facebook. I'm one of those people. But I do have an Instagram I'm getting back to, and it is phodgson11, phodgson11 on Instagram. So, yeah, that's where you can find that stuff. And Alison?
Yeah, I am on Facebook, so you just look me up and somebody who looks like me. And I am, one of the things I should be doing in my spare time is dragging myself into 2020 and getting a
Making a
website
website.
together. So eventually, yes, there will be a website with my name. I hope soon. Peter will help me.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your
Absolutely.
work with us.
Thank you, Seth.
And with
Thank you,
the
Seth.
audience. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of your evenings.
You too.
You
Thanks
too.
so much. Take care.
You too. Well, I've had fun tonight, and I hope that you have too. One of the things that first cemented my love for the York when I started going to shows there, here, or there, here, whatever, or back when I was in high school, was the company's dedication to new musicals, because I loved the art of the new musical practically as long as I can remember. And I like to think that I've been doing a decent job of stewarding that dedication since I've been on staff. Keep an eye out for another one of these evenings, maybe, and in the meantime, check out our upcoming programming. On Tuesday, we're hosting a reunion panel of the cast and creatives of our long-running hit revival of Richard Maltby Jr. and David Shire's Closer Than Ever, which was in 2012. Richard and David will be there along with the entire original cast of our production and several of their placements as well. It should be a terrific evening. Also coming up are a new installment of the culinary gold that is A Taste of York, a Halloween-themed musical theater trivia night, and a series so exciting I can't tell you anything more than the title, Broadway's Great American Songbook, hosted by Michael Feinstein. As Jim would say, though, for a large enough donation, we'll tell you anything. Once again, I'd like to thank Alana Graber, who has been handling a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff tonight while I've been running my mouth off. I'd also like to give props to the York's facilities manager and general factotum, Chris Steckel, who taught us all how to use StreamYard. And of course, I have to thank this evening's participants for sharing their time and their work with us. Once again, they are Madeline Myers, Amanda DeArchangelis, Sami Horneff, Gray Horan, Alison Weller, and Peter Hodgson. Remember those names. And as a last reminder, before I get the hook or just log off and eat dinner, we want your money. Give us moolah. Text NEWMT to 44321 or click the link in the chat, if the link is in the chat. Sorry. Thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you all soon.